Lecture number 4 in our course Stylistics. So please, I hope that you enjoyed. Thank you very much. Of English vocabulary. It's very important for the style to be determined is to look at the vocabulary that is being used within a certain either oral or written text. So lexicological statistics deals with the principles of stylistic description of lexical and phraseological units in abstraction from the context in which they function. Say, if you need to look at the vocabulary or the lexical item that is being used, phraseologically or in terms of their abstraction from a certain context in which they function or try to convey the meaning or helps or plays a very vital role, linguistic role, I mean, in order to convey the meaning of the text. It studies possibilities of words belonging to different functional emotional groups of words, like archaism, like the word archaism, neologism, which has been new expressions, or jargon, which has been a certain group, a certain kind of vocabulary being used by a group of people sharing the same discipline. Neologism, archaism, you know, archaism, which has been vocabulary that has been. So when you look at the one of the ways that has been determined, one of the ways that underlie the style is the what types of vocabulary is being used within a certain text. All the immeasurable richness of the vocabulary of any civilized language cannot be memorized or even understood by an individual native speaker. If this is being unmeasurable, no matter how rich the vocabulary is, once it cannot be memorized or even understood by an individual native speaker. This has been like abundant types of vocabulary. You're using a type of vocabulary or a certain kind of jargon. It is only the most common words that are widely used in actual communication. So it's very important to use very common words that has been used within a certain communication. Nearly half a million words, most of those words have been registered in the famous new English dictionary. You can find them in English dictionaries, and they consist of 13 volumes that belonging to the English language. But not all of them fully deserve the title of English words because many of them are abandoned. Many of them are never heard or uttered or written by the average Englishman. So very important for the style to use a very common Englishman using a widely actual words that is being used in actual communication. So vocabulary identifies it's one of the it's very important to classify the English vocabulary that is being used in any stylistic work, literary work. In order to determine or to look at the vocabulary in accordance with the division of language into literary and colloquial. Language divided into literary, which has to do with literature, very sophisticated meaning of words, used by elite group of people, well-educated people, and colloquial people, which colloquial language or colloquial vocabulary, which is being used among the people. So the whole vocabulary of the English language linguists divided it into three main layers. So the vocabulary is being used all over the world. Is being divided by the linguist into three main layers. The first layer is the literary layer, where you see this vocabulary is being used among the literary work here and there. The neutral layer, which is being used by common people in their daily communication, and the colloquial layer, which is being used as within the common people or in general. So let's look at each one separately. The neutral layer has a universal character because it's been used by all of the people and very common people use it. It's very common. I mean, the word that people use are very common words and can be used in all styles of language and in all spheres of human activities. So it's neural, it can be used here and there in every single aspect of language and all human activities, daily or especially the daily one. It is stable in its character, very stable in its character. It does not that. While the literary layer is marked by a bookish character, it's used by very formal, used within is why it's being called bookish, it's being used mainly in formal writing. The literary layer of words consists of groups accepted as legitimate members of the English vocabulary. They have no local or dialectal character. It's unlike the neutral one. It has special used. Layer consists of the following groups of words: either common literary words, or terms and learned words, or poetic words, archaic, ancient, very old words, uh, barbarism and foreign words, and finally literary coinages, blending. While the colloquial layer is marked by its lively spoken character, it's been mainly used in the spoken language. It falls into the following groups: common colloquial words, slang, which is being used by the common people in their daily life, jargonism, which is being using terminologies using the people who share in the same area of their interest or work, professional words, dialectal words, vulgar words, colloquial coinages. 7. The common literary, neutral, and common colloquial words are grouped under the term standard English vocabulary. So when we say standard English vocabulary, we mean the common literary, neutral, and common colloquial words. They are grouped under that. This is what's meant by standard English vocabulary. Other groups in the literary layer: terms and learned words, poetic words, archaic words, uh, barbarism words, and foreignism. Literary coinages are regarded as a special literary vocabulary, and those in the colloquial layer: slang, jargon words, professional words, dialectal words, vulgar words, and colloquial coinages are regarded as special colloquial, non-literary. These are non-literary, while those are, okay. So all these are considered are non-literary words or special colloquial. These are regarded as special literary vocabulary, which are the terms and learned words, poetic words, archaic words, barbarism, and foreignism. These are literary coinages. These are all regarded as special literary vocabulary, while the coming are called special colloquial or non-literary vocabulary. Neutral words, which make up the majority of the English vocabulary, are used in both literary and colloquial language. So neutral words are used in both literary or colloquial language. They are accepted and recognized by the English-speaking community. All those English speakers can identify these neutral words because they are commonly used in literary and colloquial language. They are very prolific. They are very prolific. They are very prolific. You know, in the production of new meanings, being the main source of synonym and uh, blossoming. Blossom, which is a word that having different, word that has many meaning. Neutral words cannot be considered as having special stylistic coloring. whereas both literary and colloquial words have a definite stylistic gallery. So colloquial, literary, and colloquial they play a very vital role in identifying and defining and giving that to a certain style of a writer. Common literary words are chiefly used in writing and in polished speech. One can always tell a literary word from a colloquial word. The reason for this lies in certain objective features of the literary layer of words. So this is why literary words are chiefly used in writing and in polished speech. Polished speak, that is why. This is why one can identify easily or tell a literary word from a colloquial word. You can guess it or you can tell it because it lies in certain objective features of literary layer of words. You can find colloquial words in the layer of literary works. From a certain literary work, you can find a colloquial word, and vice versa. Both literary and colloquial words have their lower and upper ranges. The lower range of literary words approaches the neutral layer and has tendency to pass into that layer. The upper range of the colloquial words has tendency to pass into the neutral layer. They can gradually lose their non-standard character and become widely recognized. We are talking about literary and colloquial words, which can be both used interchangeably because it depends on a certain situation. Either we are using the same, colloquial words in a very literary context, while you can use literary context to mean like colloquial sense in another context. So the lines of demarcation between the common literary and neutral layers on the one hand, and between the common colloquial and neutral layers on the other hand. They are blurred. They are blurred. Here is a process of presentation from one layer into another. The words of the neutral stratum are generally derived of any concrete association and refer to the concept more or less directly. Synonyms of neutral words, both colloquial and literary, assume a far greater degree of concreteness. They are tangible. They generally present the same notions not abstractly, but as a more or less concrete image that is in a form perceptible by the sense. It can be perceptible by the sense. This step will show clearly that when a word is colloquial, neutral, or literary. Kid, child, infant. Infant, use it literary, which is more formally, and neutral, we use it this neutral meaning, which is being used by every people and it's being guessed by the speakers and listen at the same time because they share at the same platform of their linguistic knowledge. While colloquial, this is being used kid, chap, fellow, associate. To be through or to be over means end or terminate. 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 Flower or bird, young girl, maiden. To go ahead, to continue, to proceed. Comfy means comfortable or commodious. They have the same meaning, but they are using colloquially, neutrally, and literally. So you need to identify between the colloquial, neutral, and literary. The first set of words is very clear: kid, child, and infant. So now you know the difference between the colloquial, neutral, and literary words when we want to define a certain style. How do they help in identifying a style? When a certain writer using a colloquial words, not like when using neutral ones or literary ones. So this is a literary text. This is a very common text. This has to be used by. It shows what kind of text it is from the vocabulary that is being used either colloquial, neutral, or literary. Special literary vocabulary it includes such groups of as poetic words, archaic words, barbarism, and foreign words and literary coinages. Terms are understood as words or a group of words that have a definite meaning in a particular field of science. A term, unlike other words, directs the mind to this essential quality of the thing, phenomena, or action as seen by the scientist in the light of his own conceptualization. It is directly connected with the concept it denotes. Terms are usually monosemantic and they rarely have synonyms. Terms they are monosemantic. This is a very important point about terms. Sorry for the interruption. Terms are usually monosemantic. They have just one meaning. They don't have like any synonyms. Terms are predominantly used in special works dealing with some branches of, say, like medical, engineering, and so on. It may be said they belong to the style of language of science. If they appear in other styles, their function is either to indicate technical peculiarities, peculiarities of the subject dealt with, or to make some reference to the occupation of a character of a certain character. So this is a very term or terminology. It's been used widely in nowadays, especially in scientific field. Not only scientific field, but even a language that has been used by different group of people who are sharing the same platform of knowledge because they are doing the same work, they are working in the same area. This was sometimes being called ASP, English for specific purpose, where people are using terms which are definitely relevant or connected with a certain group of people who are sharing that genre, that kind of domain or the same knowledge. They share the same knowledge of a certain job or or work that they are doing together. Comedy, critic, data, history, parasite, pneumonia, iodine, atom, calorie, acid, and so on. All these words are derived from Latin. Where is it? When I still talking about terms, terms frequently denote a concept or a notion in a concise form. For example, instead of the mass experimentation of population on racial, religious, political, or other grounds, one word may be used, genocide. Instead of a language used between people whose main language are different, a term is lingua franca is used. So those terms are words denoting scientific and technical phenomena. They appear in scientific text and are characteristics of the scientific style. Their function is merely of communication. They are all used for communication. They have no stylistic function, but when they are used in the bell letters style, their function changes. Their aim is to create a true to life atmosphere of the narration. When they are used in the direct speech of characters, they become means of speech characterization. They can also indicate and underline the professional occupation of the personage. So you can identify the person from the vocabulary that he or she uses. So this is all we can say about terms. Highly literary words, as it is stated by AIR Galbraith from a rather insignificant layer of the special literary vocabulary. They are mostly archaic or rarely use highly literary words, which aim at producing an elevated or lofty effect. So these literary words are used so to have that kind of effect on the readers. They have a marked tendency to detach themselves from the common literary word stock and gradually assume the quality of terms denoting definite notions, unlike the terms. They are used in the writing of poetry, like in the poetic words and expressions are called upon to sustain the special elevated atmosphere of poetry. Surely they are used to give the poetry that sense of a poetic language. This is said to be the main function of poetic words, is to give the sense of atmosphere of poetry, to elevate the atmosphere of poetry. So when you read poetry, you can clearly see that the literary words or the poetic words within the poem, within the poem or the stanza or the lines. Scholars often refer to V.V. Vingogradov, who indicated the following characters of poetic words. Poetic words have certain characters according to that guy. Uh, the cobweb of poetic words and images veils the reality, stylizing it according to the established literary canons. Aware the stone away from its relevant referent, being drawn into the system of literary style. The words are selected and arranged in groups of definite images in phraseological series which grow standardized and stale and are becoming conventional symbols of definite phenomena or character or of definite ideas, impressions. Poetic words are widely used in the 19th century, but nowadays most of them are marked in dictionaries not only as poetic but also as archaic because people stop using them right now, they become ancient or very old. It is obvious that not all of the poetic words can be easily understood by readers. This definitely. Poetic words are not easily understood by the whole readers unless they have a very that knowledge or background about poetry or poetic language. This is why. The most frequent use poetic words sometimes only particular meanings of polysemantic words or forms of words. In English are such nouns as below, with, airy, dresser, equipage. Fair, a woman, beauty. Swain means a young man from the country who loves a woman. Vale, valley. Mourn, mourning. Adjective, staunch. Firm, hollowed means holy. Murky, dark, gloomy, obscure. Verbs quit, to leave. Fair, to travel, to go. Airy, to dress, adorn. Quip, hearken, to hear attentively, to listen. Trout, to believe, past forms of some verbs, route, worked, bed, bid, glad, clothed, adverbs happily, perhaps, oft, often, pronouns thou. It's very important to be very clear that most of those italics words are poetic words and they are archaic words. They are not used anymore nowadays. The nominative of the second person singular, thou, thee, the dative and accusative form of thou, ye, second person plural, sometimes singular, out, anything, note, nothing, conjunctions, albeit, although, ere, before, or, over, and so on. So you can see many of the poetic examples of poetic words which has been not used anymore nowadays. You see, so you need to have just an idea about them so that this might help you. When you read a very poetry, for example, Shakespearean language, you can find such kind of words like thee, thou, and e. So because these are pronouns used at that time, thou, thee, and thou, thou, thee, ye. So these are pronouns used at that time, especially you can find right now in the Biblic language. So when you read very old or archaic literary work, you can find this language, which is a poetic language, clearly presented or seen. As you can see, this is a very big example of the poetic language. As you can see, joy and boy, be and me, see and thee. You see the rhyme here, fear and near and here. This is a rhyme. This is a rhyme scheme of the poem, and you can see that z and z, zai, very old, the very old words, archaic words or poetic words. This is an example of using them. So I'll study this and try to find out the poetic words from this poem. So from the first glance, you can identify the style. This is an old-fashioned style, poetic style. Maybe it's called stanza, or I don't know, because I know I mean 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15, and so on. This is a style of using poetic words or poetic language here, and they are all using very old-fashioned words, old archaic or ancient words. So this is shows the style. You can know the style from the vocabulary is used here. Thank you very much, dear students. See you next lecture, inshallah.